about 80 odd watching now. So for those that don't know, we didn't do a proper production sort of style video today because we just got off a chat with Ivan on tech. So for those that don't know, Ivan has got a channel with about 176,000 subscribers, very tech focused, and Kale from Blockgrain and myself were there chatting with him. So check that out if you're interested. But I think he was a fan by the end of the interview as well. So they get a lot of bad ICOs on there. So hopefully we got our point across. But the title of this video is Quick Tax Update, and I'll take a few live questions as well, guys. But last year I did a video that was very popular, 2017, Australian tax update, and I went over my experience being a full-time trader as a trading business, as an individual sole trader for tax purposes, as I was, and an investor, and a few of the differences. And the idea was just to give you a basic understanding, because the thing with tax is that it's very individual, guys. I'm not a professional. You need to seek professional advice. Everyone's individual circumstances are very different, particularly when it comes to crypto. Now, there's been a few more guidelines added to that since I made that video. There's also been some examples given, which to me have somewhat complicated it even more. Now, I've been talking to the ATO as well. Now, what they've told me is that they're reading through all that feedback they got, those surveys. So thank you and well done to anyone that filled that out. I know we encourage you to do that, to tell them about how difficult it is to keep accurate records of all these things. I think that crypto to crypto trading is just a nightmare for people that got into altcoins in that bull run. Some people and ICOs that have raised funds, even some investors or traders are sitting on a tax bill, as I tweeted out today. Guys, please retweet that tweet and spread that around. We need to raise awareness to this issue, that some people are sitting on a tax bill bigger than their entire holdings. Now, that to me just means that something's wrong. Square peg doesn't fit through a round hole, I said in the tweet. We can't just say that, this is pretty much like shares, same rules. We need different framework. Now, yes, you can sell at a loss, just like you might have bought altcoins with your Bitcoin, and that's why you've, incurred a gain, because at the moment, I think what they're saying is crypto to crypto is a taxable event, even though the other day we saw an article in the Herald Sun that kind of said otherwise as well. So look, so much confusion still. Hopefully they're taking this on board. Hopefully they have some more guidelines before June 30. If not, again, we're going to have someone on the channel to answer all your questions, okay? And again, you don't have to do your tax, guys, on June 30, but I know a lot of you want to know what's going to be best for you before then. So we're going to try and do it before June 30. The key thing is, just like you sold or bought altcoins with Bitcoin, if you sell those back into Bitcoin and lock in those losses, maybe that's what some people are going to have to do to reduce their tax bill. And again, it depends on individual circumstances. If you're even allowed to apply a loss to offset your gains, whether you're an individual trader or an investor, whether it's, under over 6 months, how much of that you pay. So guys, I really recommend that you start to read those guidelines and try to work out how all your accounts are sitting as best you can, and sort of formulate a plan. But obviously we're going to have someone on before June 30 to talk about it and take all your questions. But just be aware that some people will go and they'll sit down and then they'll work out, as I said, that they're actually sitting on a huge tax bill if they happen to buy and sell at the wrong time. And I really feel for ICOs that might have raised, say, 50 million and now their Ethereum's worth 10 or 15 million, yet their tax bill is 17 million at the business tax rate, more than the net worth of their business, let alone if they've paying staff and bills and marketing. Some of these people literally can't afford the bill that they're supposedly owe on paper. So please retweet that tweet, guys. Nugget_Alex is my Twitter handle if you're not following me already. But we need to get these messages out there, and I'm happy to be the voice of the community, guys. I read all your comments. Myself and our team, 5 people, we're always reading everything on social media, Twitter, Facebook. We're trying to build up Instagram and all platforms these days, guys, because that's the way the world works these days. Now, the other things I wanted to talk about while we watch the market, I'm going to hopefully have Ivan on because there's so many more Australian projects that he was interested in. I only quickly got to mention Power Ledger and Horizon State. And guys, I know some people think that I'm going on and some people say that I'm shilling these projects, guys, but it is an absolute no-brainer for anyone that reads the white papers and looks at those projects. Why am I so bullish on all these Australian projects that I talk about constantly? Because they've got experienced teams, a working product, they're already rolling this out and have real-world usage. You know, Horizon State have got 90 million people in Indonesia. Power Ledger have got trials going on in India. Blockgrain have got a working app that they've had for years that's about to be in the next few months rolled out to farmers to be having commodity contracts on it. It's an absolute no-brainer. This Friday in Tasmania, we're meeting with some government officials. I'm not sure for exactly how to say who yet, but we're going to talk about getting government support for these trials of blockgrain in Tasmania. You know, perfect use case. Tasmania loves to brand their premium produce, traceability into China. Absolute marriage made in heaven, and I hope that they see it that way as well, because Queensland government have been supportive of blockgrain. I want Tassie to become leaders as well. Comments on wash trading. So guys, for those that don't know, wash trading is when you buy or sell shares to lock in a capital loss or gain, whatever it is, but then you buy back those same shares. Now, there's no hard and fast time frame. But if you're selling all your coins to incur a loss and then you buy them all back a month later in the new financial year, look, that's not a good look, guys. A lot of these things are common sense. I'm not an expert, but that doesn't mean to say if you've got coins that you're not happy with that aren't performing well and you sell them, or you sell them into Bitcoin and then buy a different coin that you like, that's no different to buying a coin that you like. Okay, if you're honestly reshuffling your portfolio and locking in losses, common sense to me would say that that's nothing illegal or dodgy there, guys. But again, we've spoken to our tax accountants. That's what they tell us. The big difference between wash trading and just reshuffling your portfolio and getting your finances in order. Common sense stuff, guys. See, this is the thing. Mad Cow, big fan. I know you've been over at Ivan on Tech watching our interview, and some people have this argument that there's no taxable income from crypto until you purchase back out into fiat or other assets that aren't crypto. But the ATO is saying yes. As soon as you use that Bitcoin to buy another altcoin or Ethereum to go into an ICO, that's a taxable event. You've got to pay gains, and that's where all this confusion is coming from. Other things I've got on the plate this week, guys, as we keep one eye on the crypto market here, it's touched a little candle wick under 6,500 here. I've got a couple of big videos I'm working on. So I'm working on mainnet launches. So obviously EOS hasn't had the best run lately. I'll bring the price up while we're talking about it. EOS has had a bit of a dive the last few days because even the EOS block producers thought that people were going to vote for them a lot quicker than what they have. Now, I don't want to talk about this now because I'm working on this video, but they're only halfway with the number of votes, and there's lots of things to talk about here. It just goes to show that people are sort of taking some time away from crypto. People aren't familiar with the tech side of things on how to vote. But there's probably half a dozen big projects with mainnet launches coming up, and mainnet launches can be all about hype, or they can actually have big implications if it's a solid project. So I want to talk about half a dozen different mainnet launches that I think are important to take notice of. I might even have that episode out tomorrow if you're interested, guys. I want to talk about where is the bottom. Now, where's the bottom for Bitcoin? And at the moment, unfortunately, everything is correlated to Bitcoin. As crazy as it is that these good projects that are having awesome announcements, Horizon State barely budged yesterday, where they... everyone talks about how voting's a good use case for blockchain. We have a voting project, a low cap coin that has a phenomenal announcement about a country actually being interested in using it, and the price barely budges. That just shows that message that I harp on about it. That sentiment drives markets. And in a bear market, we had Coinbase announce, an on-ramp for big institutional money, minimum purchase of $250,000. That should be moving the market. That would have moved the market when everyone's bullish and euphoric and happy. At the moment, people aren't really interested. The selling is overwhelming the buyers. So where's the bottom? I mean, nobody knows exactly, guys, and I'm still shocked at how this bear market has gone on so long. I want to talk about everything that's contributing to this. You've got to really start to say the futures were on my 30th birthday on the 18th of December, and it's just gone down and down ever since then. Now, yeah, we were extended at the time. Put your tinfoil hat on. Look at those people that say when futures and ETFs opened up for gold and silver, it didn't allow the real money to flow into the actual asset. It just allows people to short and think they're investing without ever owning the actual underlying asset, and people to sell millions of ounces of silver that don't actually own it through what's called naked short selling. So all those things, we don't want cryptocurrency to turn into that style of market. That's why we want these investment funds that have to actually buy the coins. I'm going to talk about all that. I've got about a dozen or 24 tabs teed up, guys, to work my way through in the video on where I think the bottom is, what I think's coming. Thanks to everyone that's been filling out the polls that I've been doing lately on Facebook and Twitter. So a lot of people starting to say now, or a good percentage of people in those polls saying, they think that Bitcoin's going to stay low for the next, more than 6 months, which is not in my view. I definitely don't think in 6 months' time Bitcoin's going to be down at these levels. So I'm going to dive into all that. I'll have a quick look at some of these questions coming out. I haven't got a clue how to handle it. Yeah, thanks, Mad Cow. Favorite privacy coins, guys. Again, that's another episode that it's definitely nearing completion. But at the moment, unfortunately, if you're here now watching this, you're engaged, guys. You understand crypto, or you're learning at least. You want to understand more. You're not here from that speculation side of things. People that only bought to make money. Think about all YouTube channels out there. Some of the YouTube channels with 100,000, 200,000 subscribers are getting a few thousand watch each video. 90% of their audience aren't watching their videos, and that just shows that a lot of people, unfortunately, don't care about the tech. And every cycle I've been through, it's obviously the people that know, understand, and believe in the tech that reap the rewards, the financial benefits, and everything down the line. It isn't easy, guys. Anyone that thinks making money is easy and comfortable, okay, it's hard enough in the stock market world, let alone in the most volatile asset class on the planet. So, look, Bitcoin is just still in an uptrend. If you go on the really long-term time frames and you say, look, at the start of last year, or however you want to do it, it wasn't that long ago, guys, when we were at 1,000 or 3,000. If I don't think it's getting down that low, because if it does, it would mean that some of these very high quality projects are going to be back below their ICO price. And that to me is just insane when you consider the progress that some of them have made. And as I said, guys, I'll be putting my money where my mouth is. I'm happy to show you screenshots and blanking out the numbers and whatnot, but I will be selling a lot of my shares to buy more crypto if we go down that low, because I genuinely believe it's just getting silly in terms of how far altcoins have sold off in percentage terms. The final thing that I wanted to talk about, and tying it back into tax a little bit, is that and I am going to compare whether or not this is like the 2013 to 2015 sideways correction that I sat through as well. That's a good point there, Max. The final thing I wanted to talk about was, if we continue to have a slide and a correction into June 30, that says a lot about how many people and how influential the Australian investor is in the crypto space. Now, I actually think we hold a lot bigger percentage than the rest of the world gives us credit for. And if people do start to maybe sell a bit coming into June 30, that's definitely something I'm watching closely. Look at those Google trends in terms of country and by city that I tweeted out a month ago. Australia had 3 of the top 5 cities in the world Googling, Bitcoin or how to buy Bitcoin, I think it was. And that's just insane, guys, when you consider how small our population is. So no doubt Australia is very crypto obsessed. Love or hate all the local exchanges, we have an on-ramp. Plenty of countries didn't even have a way to buy a range of altcoins last year. So it is what it is, guys. I'm going to cover more exchanges in the future. There's plenty of multi-coin exchanges. It just speaks volumes about everyone that's building the infrastructure and how many people are joining this space. All these people aren't quitting their jobs at big banks and, these tech startups to go and work on blockchain projects because this is going to zero, guys. Absolutely no way in the world is this going to zero. Okay? Think about that. Rewatch those videos. Rewatch my videos about how high I think Bitcoin's going to go. Rewatch talks about the tech. Rewatch fundamental analysis on your favorite coin. Give yourself conviction to sleep at night. It's only really traders that have got themselves in a pickle, putting in more than they can afford to lose, using margin, using too big of a allotment for trading versus investing. Okay, all those things, if you've stuck to all the rules that we've drilled on and on about, you should be fine. It's a correction. It's painful. It sucks if you got in near the top. As I said, was that the best time to get in? No, you've got to look back and learn from that for next time, and you've got to learn if you didn't take enough profits. So all these things, guys, hopefully that's giving you a little bit of comfort. Again, I know that I used to panic, and there's going to come a time, guys, in the future when Bitcoin and all these altcoins do get far too overvalued. In the next wave of global, hysteria and mass adoption that I think is coming, and you've got to learn from that. And there's going to be a time to sell. There's going to be a time to take profits and maybe walk away. But I just don't think we're there yet. Look at that video I did, part 2 of Can Bitcoin Reach $1 million? Look at the percentage of people that are in crypto. I think it was less than 0.03%. We're not there yet, guys. That is my belief. You've got to always do your own research, but different sources of news. But honestly, guys, I haven't sold my Ethereum. I haven't sold my Bitcoin. I believe there's far bigger things to come. Has this been a larger bear market than anyone would have thought? Probably yes. Did it go up higher too fast than it should have? Yes. Are futures starting to play a price of the manipulation? That's one thing that I want to talk about at length, because I think we can really overwhelm that with buying. We can't overwhelm futures manipulation in the stock market or on gold or silver. We can overwhelm it with cryptocurrency by actually buying real coins and not letting them short it. The US, the powers that be, the banks, they cannot dictate what happens in this market if we all stick together as a community, guys. So I'll probably leave it on that note, guys. Please hit that like button. Share these videos around. I look forward to reading your comments below. And thanks for tuning in, guys. Cheers.